In 1913 by Duncan and Fraser of Adelaide for the Paran and Malvern Tramways Trust. It entered service on March 13, 1914, just months before war was declared. It's sobering to consider that this E-class tram may well have been the last that many Victorian soldiers travelled on in Melbourne before embarking for Europe and the Middle East. Swept up in patriotic fervour and the imagined glamour of wearing a uniform, there was also a financial motivation to enlist, as Australian soldiers were the best paid of any army in the world, earning twice as much as an average farmer. 1914 had been a year of great struggle. The Bendigo region experienced the most severe drought in its history and was still reeling from the tragedy of the Hustlers mine disaster, where 7 men were his Bendigo's RSL Memorial Hall. It was erected by the citizens of Bendigo to commemorate the sacrifices made by Bendigo soldiers in the First World War. The Governor, the Earl of Stradbroke, officially opened the hall on November 15, 1921. It's now home to a war museum run by volunteers, which catalogues, stores and displays a broad range of wartime memorabilia and is open daily to the public. The
Tax is still about 70 yards away from us. Don't worry about me. I'm doing splendid over here.
Sadly, he died 3 weeks later.
Especially at the loops if the driver had been a little over-enthusiastic. As long as one set of wheels stayed in contact with the rails, the tram still had power and could usually be manoeuvred back onto the rails. If all the wheels lost contact, it was another story altogether. Along this section of Bendigo's oldest streets, the area along Brick Street behind us, near the Golden Dragon Museum, used to be the centre of Bendigo's very own Chinatown. During the gold rush, thousands of Chinese moved hundreds of miles to Bendigo, after first being unloaded from their ships in Rome, a coastal town in South Australia. The ship's captains did this to avoid paying the £10 tax on import vehicles. These highly reliable vehicles serve with distinction in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other areas of the world. Next stop, Bendigo Joss House Temple. This Chinese place of worship was constructed in the 1860s and is one of the few remaining original buildings of its time in Australia. It is painted red, symbolising happiness, strength, and vitality. Beyond the Bendigo Joss House Temple, they saw an opportunity to make money by supplying fresh vegetables to the hungry diggers. For many years, their horse-drawn wagons, laden with fresh produce, were a familiar sight around Bendigo. The Chinese also recognised other business opportunities, and one such business was unearthed next to the gardens in 2005, when archaeologists discovered a 19th century Chinese brick-making kiln. It is significant as the only known example of a Chinese brick-making kiln outside of China. In May 2012, the kiln was reopened for a second. In 1876, 45 acres of land was set aside by the Sandhurst Council for the building and formation of a lake for boating and recreational activities. At the time, Lake Marina cost £10,000 to roll the Bendigo Pottery at Epsom. People used to ride the tram just like they ride the buses today. If kids went to Bendigo High School or the School of Mines, they got a tram. If your dad was a miner, he'd catch the tram to Eagle Hawk to the mines. On the weekends, people would catch a tram to visit their families and friends. If there was a footy or cricket match, they would catch a tram to the Upper Reserve, which we now call Queen Elizabeth Oval. For a bit of fun on Saturday nights, people would catch Princess Theatre in Kew Street, or they'd go to the Saturday night dance at the A&A Mall further up the street. On Sundays, we owned a tram where they were along the route and would inform passengers when they were at their stop. There was just a very dull lighting on the tram, so conductors would fill in their fares and all the blinds would be pulled down. During blackout, when the pole was being placed on the overhead wire, the sparks created quite a light show. The hotel on our left is the oldest surviving building along Pall Mall, and next to it is where Sydney Miner opened his first shop in 1900. Passengers getting off here are asked to wait for directions from the tram crew, while those of you choosing to stay aboard will have a few minutes to wait while our crew prepares for the next part of our trip.